Brunswick, Georgia is a quiet and picturesque town with plenty of old world charm. But it's also a city riddled with corruption and racial division. And in February 2020, the modern-day lynching of a young unarmed black man named Ahmaud Arbery, who was hunted down and killed in broad daylight, will expose a political system that protects his killers at all costs. Ahmaud's murder will also help ignite a worldwide movement for racial justice, the likes of which the world has never seen before. Brunswick is a beautiful port city located halfway between Savannah and Jacksonville, Florida.
There's just nothing like this place. We have the Signal Bridge. When you go across it at the right time of day, when the floodplain is just right, I mean, it is awe-inspiring. It's just something that to behold the rich beauty of nature.
I can go to St. Simon's or to Jaco and enjoy just being out there looking at the water, finding a quiet place. But for me, what makes it beautiful is the people here.
Brunswick's storied black history dates back to the Civil War. Slaves who joined and aided the Union on their march through the South were eventually granted land in return for their service.
That is why Sherman wrote Special Order 15 that designated all of the land from Charleston, South Carolina to St. Johns River, 35 miles inland, belonged to black folk.
Special Order 15 became known as the 40 acres and a mule rule. Thousands of newly freed slaves became landowners, and with them came their knowledge to grow what would become known as the South's white gold. Along with cotton, rice became one of the most important and abundant crops in the region.
The notion is that cotton was king, but rice was queen.
Soon, Brunswick had a thriving black economy with one of the busiest ports on the East Coast.
In 1910, the county was majority black. A number of black businesses sprung up here. It was our own little black Wall Street. And we had a number of people that flourished.
But Brunswick's booming economy came with a dark side. Wealthy white industrialists took notice of the powerhouse the city had become and made moves to take the land back from its black residents.
When they saw an opportunity that we were doing well at and they wanted it, they just took it.
The hotels that was owned by black folk went out of business. The swimming pool that was owned by black folk was covered up in sand.
The new powers that be shifted Brunswick's economy from agriculture and industry to tourism. To survive, African Americans had to take low-paying jobs at the new white-owned resorts that were springing up all around the city.
The pay rate for these positions were kept very low, and so people became more impoverished.
We've lost homes, we've lost businesses. We don't own nothing. The program of how all of this is used in order to bring about an economic devastation in our community is clever, consistent, and it's criminal.
The political power that black residents once had in Brunswick has also disappeared.
That imbalance plays itself out in a lot of different manners, because in politics, you're going to take care of the high taxpayers, right? And to heck with those people who are barely making it.
And in 2020, the murder of a young black man would show the world just how powerful and criminal Brunswick's political connections could be. Around 12 p.m. on February 23, 2020, 25-year-old Ahmaud Arbery leaves his mother's house in Brunswick to go for a run.
It was a daily routine. He made that a part of his healthy development process with the desire to be a professional athlete. And so he just ran across the road into the Satilla Shores.
The neighborhood of Satilla Shores is a beautiful, tree-lined, older neighborhood, a lot of beautiful houses.
You have residents of varying incomes there, but mostly middle-class homes. It's very quiet. It also sits just across the highway from the Fancy Bluff neighborhood, which is where Ahmaud Arbery grew up in and lived.
Ahmaud would never make it out of Satilla Shores. An hour later, just after 1 p.m., Brunswick police respond to shots fired in the area.
We have our first responding officer who hears the shots. He heads down Satilla Shore and he pulls up. And what he's confronted with is Mr. Arbery lying in a pool of blood in the middle of Holmes Drive.
It's gonna be a black male, middle of the roadway.
There are 2 other men standing there. At this point in time, this officer is all alone. He has no idea what has transpired. He has no idea who is armed and who isn't armed, and who's a friend and who's not a friend. Meaning, are these people all together? He doesn't know. He also is not medically trained. So the best he can do is call this in.
Nah.
There was absolutely nothing EMS, the fire truck, or a hospital could have done for Mr. Arbery due to the nature of his wounds and the extensive blood loss that he had suffered.
It will be months before the truth of what happened comes out. And when it does, Ahmaud's name will become a rallying cry for social justice. Ahmaud Arbery was born in Brunswick, Georgia, the youngest child of Wanda Cooper Jones and Marcus Arbery Sr.
He probably didn't necessarily live the life that people stereotype Black people into, which is poor, poverty, terrible upbringing. He came from a loving and supportive home.
They were always good people. They were folk that you would consider your friend, that you could trust.
Oh, I loved his family. He loved his family dearly. His mom, that was his queen. Like, that was his queen,
Growing up, Ahmaud was well loved by everyone who knew him.
He would give you literally the shirt off his back, if he felt like you needed it.
He was also a talented athlete. Ahmaud started playing football when he was only 5 years old and went on to play linebacker for his high school team.
Every Black kid growing up, in urban areas, dreams are like, okay, I'm going to make it in sports. Ahmaud talked about, going to the NFL one day.
There are a few athletes that have come out of Brunswick, and Ahmaud wanted to be one of them.
Those dreams never materialized, but Ahmaud continued to stay fit while going to technical college to become an electrician.
He was very active in maintaining his well-being, his mental health, and the way he did that was by running.
I kind of felt like he had this idea of you got to be in shape to chase your dream. He definitely wanted a wife and kids, a family, big house and whatnot. He would just, speak about becoming an electrician, owning his own business, passing it on to his kids and things like that.
But now, Ahmaud's once promising future has died with him. Police inform Ahmaud's family that he was killed while committing a burglary in Satilla Shores.
I got a text, saying my closest friend just died in some burglary, some weird burglary. It just didn't make sense to me. I went in the bathroom, just kind of cried my eyes out. Felt like a part of me died when he died.
Because of social media, news of Ahmaud's death sweeps through the rest of Brunswick within minutes.
About 1:30, that notification popped up on my phone because people talk fast around here, right? And that's the narrative. Someone broke in a house, homeowner, shot him.
There was this narrative that was kind of already being created about his character, and it was treated like an open and shut case.
Ahmaud's death and the truth behind it will ignite a furious fight for justice and expose the dark truth about just how divided a city can be.
We had been calling for a federal investigation in the corruption of this city for years.
The interweb of connectivity speaks to something far more nefarious and far more entrenched that says, we don't do something, this ain't gonna be the only one.
From its Victorian-era historic district to the beautiful surrounding islands, Brunswick, Georgia attracts tourists year-round. But amidst the wealth and splendor, there are areas still reeling from decades of poverty.
Even if you walk a few blocks outside of downtown, you have boarded up homes, you have some condemned properties. So there's still a lot of progress left to be made in the city.
25-year-old Ahmaud Arbery was hoping to be a part of that progress. Instead, he's been shot to death in a neighborhood near his mother's house.
And how'd you say you got that blood on you? He had his arm.
The two men responsible are 64-year-old retired investigator Gregory McMichael and his son, 34-year-old Travis McMichael. They are still on the scene when police arrive, along with their neighbor, William Roddy Bryan.
The story they gave was get Ahmaud. He had been breaking into houses in the neighborhood, and they had tried to get him to stop. Because they were going to do a citizen's arrest, but they couldn't get him to stop. Greg, he's retired, chief investigator, so I'm assuming he knew some type of law.
According to the McMichaels, there had been several recent break-ins in the area. So when they saw Ahmaud running through the neighborhood, they decided to chase after him.
I'm upholstering some bookcases in the back of my truck. I look up, this guy comes hauling ass down the street. I'm talking about in a dead run. He's not jogging. So I haul ass back in the house and said, Travis, the guy's running down the street. Let's go. So I haul ass into my bedroom, get my 357 Magnum. Glenn County PD issue, by the way, that I toted years ago. Travis grabs his shotgun, because we don't know if this guy's armed.
They hop in their car. They don't call 911 still. They chase him. They chase him past William Bryan's home, who calls out, y'all got him. William Bryan hops in his truck, proceeds to follow.
He's running down the damn road, and in the meantime, we're hollering, stop, we want to talk to you.
The men say they finally caught up to Ahmaud and confronted him.
And then Travis jumps out with the shotgun, and he runs up here, and the guy, at some point, the guy more or less attacks him, runs towards him, and they get a fight over the damn shotgun.
He claimed Ahmaud attacked him first.
During the struggle, Travis shoots Ahmaud 3 times.
They never denied that they shot him. Travis never denied that he shot him.
Just breathe, okay?
When he's questioned at the scene, Travis claims he'd seen Ahmaud lurking around a neighbor's property a few times over the past few months.
He was first on the property, I think about October 25th. He's there again November, and then there again, I think, December. We don't really know that he's there again until February. So he was there about 4 times before.
The McMichaels say one particular incident in October of 2019 had them on high alert.
Travis said he saw Ahmaud that day, and Ahmaud flashed a weapon at him. He went and told his dad. His dad got up, and Diego, the neighborhood watch guy, I guess is what they called themselves, and they tried to clear the house. They called out Glenn County PD, but they didn't come across Ahmaud that day.
Officers obtained multiple videos that show Ahmaud at the property at least 4 times prior, including the video from the day of the shooting.
Mr. Arbery just walks into the camera view, stands in front of the house. It's a bright, beautiful, sunshiny day. It's a little bit before 1 o'clock, and he's wandering around. He looked around the house, didn't touch anything, didn't steal anything, didn't take anything, didn't vandalize anything.
None of the videos, including the one from the day of the shooting, ever show Ahmaud with a weapon. Still, based on the initial investigation, no charges are filed against the 3 men involved. Ahmaud's friends and family are outraged.
The early reporting was just a press release sent from Glenn County Police to local stations that basically said that these men shot and killed someone in self-defense. There wasn't anything more to it than that.
Ahmaud supporters demand justice. But by the next day, it becomes clear they aren't likely to get it.
Greg McMichael had previously been Jackie Johnson's chief investigator at the district attorney's office. At that point in time, of course, the law enforcement officers called over to the district attorney's office seeking guidance, which is a total normal practice. She had one of her assistant district attorneys respond that they were going to have to recuse themselves off that particular case.
And she'd asked a nearby district attorney, George Barnhill, to actually look at this case and make a recommendation. He recommended to Jackie Johnson that there be no charges filed. Again, open and shut. And so there was really no investigation.
On February 29th, Ahmaud is laid to rest. His funeral becomes a rallying cry for answers.
Being at that funeral, seeing my brother in the casket like that, really, that's when it hit me. That he's gone forever. For sure, I want the answers because it just, none of it just made sense. The more truth we found out, it became worse and worse.
Glenn County, where Brunswick is located, has a diverse population. But Satilla Shores, the community where Ahmaud Arbery was shot, is predominantly white.
It sits near some waterfront properties just off of I-17, which is a major thoroughfare in Glenn County. And it's not gated. I think a lot of people would be under the impression that it is, but it's not a gated community. It is a public street that anyone is free to run through.
In the wake of Ahmaud's death, some in the community came out in support of the McMichaels.
From the white community's standpoint, there was no malice or hatred in their heart. They were doing it to protect the neighborhood.
We need more guys like him. Good guy with a gun. That's the national narrative, right?
Even though his family and friends are told Ahmaud was killed while committing a burglary, they aren't buying the narrative. At the front of the fight for truth is Ahmaud's mother, Wanda Cooper Jones.
She was very crucial. I believe that her, along with some of his friends, led a social media campaign called I Run With Maud that was used to kind of raise money in his honor, but also to hopefully lead to a fuller investigation.
She was trying to get in touch with Barnhill, the DA in Waycross, and he would not even return her calls.
As she digs into Ahmaud's case, his mother notices holes in the story, starting with the 911 call made by Greg McMichael just moments before Ahmaud was shot and killed.
911, what's the address of your emergency?
I'm out here at Satilla Shores. There's a black male running down the street.
Where at Satilla Shores?
That was what he said his emergency was. I'm out here in Satilla Shores, and there's a black man running down the street.
A review of the officer's body cam footage also reveals how informally they treated the crime scene and their questioning of the McMichaels.
Hey, Greg.
How are you?
I'm fantastic.
Yeah.
You're doing this. I do know Greg.
I know y'all will take him down.
Yeah, he's going to have the interview.
Yeah. Y'all don't put him in cuffs, are you?
No. Why would you be in cuffs?
There's a level of comfort there, speaking with the McMichaels and William Bryan as if they were old friends.
If I could have got a shot at the guy, I'd shot him myself.
They were also allowed to go home, change, and then come to the police station to be interviewed. There was no immediacy to actually learn what had happened prior to Ahmaud being killed.
The autopsy report undermines their claim of self-defense as well.
He'd been shot in the arm and had also been shot in the chest with the first shotgun blast. That was consistent with him trying to do this, to push that shotgun away.
The first shot is to tell, when it's right here, what happened to make you shoot him right in his chest? What happened for you to shoot an unarmed man point blank in his chest with a shotgun?
Greg McMichael's connection to his former employer, District Attorney Jackie Johnson, also becomes a concern in the fight for justice.
Greg McMichael revealed to the Glenn County police officers who had responded who he was, a retired law enforcement officer who had previously been Jackie Johnson's chief investigator at the district attorney's office.
I was chief investigator with the DA's office for 23 years.
Johnson had recused herself from the case early on, but the lack of charges against her former employee and his son still raised questions about preferential treatment.
She sent it to somebody that she knew would still cover them, protect them, so she knew exactly what she was doing.
District Attorney George Barnhill in neighboring Waycross, Georgia, took over the case, but he too declined to file charges.
When he was officially assigned the case, he'd written a 2-page memo essentially saying that these men were in the right and that they were justified in killing Ahmaud Arbery.
What's the story with why it was sent to George Barnhill? Oh my golly, his son works in Jackie Johnson's office, which is why he was motivated to write a diatribe of inhumanity in his assessment of the case, because he's connected as well.
That caused George Barnhill to have to recuse himself.
The more we learned, the more we figured out there was a lot of lies being told. That there were nefarious objectives being played out that were not just to protect the people who committed the crime, protect those political entities, right, that had gotten their hands dirty because that's a member of the club, right?
The lack of charges by anyone handling the case created more questions than answers for many in Brunswick.
We all had to go through this wondering if he was trying to steal something, because that's what they're telling us. We didn't know him to be a thief or anything like that. It was out of character for him. And so that's what we had to try to deal with in our minds and hearts, that were at war with each other.
Then, in May of 2020, a new video of the shooting changes everything.
When you look at the video, what popped up was the black guys running, 2 white men shoot him in the middle of the street. It was hard to watch. It was just as horrific as George Floyd was.
More than 2 months have passed since Ahmaud Arbery was killed, and his loved ones are still trying to get Brunswick police to investigate. Then on May 5th, a cell phone video of the shooting appears on the internet. The video was taken by the McMichael's neighbor, William Roddy Bryan.
Greg McMichael came to the hardware store where Mr. Bryan was working, fixing small engines, and asked for the phone because the video was still on his cell phone. Greg McMichael took that cell phone, went to his attorney's location, had the video taken off the cell phone, and the attorney and Greg McMichael then released that cell phone video to the public.
These men thought it would exonerate them and show that they were innocent in all of this, when really it showed that they killed Ahmaud Arbery.
What you see on that video is Mr. Bryan videotaping it, Mr. Arbery running. The McMichaels chase Mr. Arbery down to the end of the street and falsely imprison him at that point, cutting him off. He turns around to run back. And it's at that point that Mr. Bryan pulls out of his driveway and actually attempts to hit Mr. Arbery and runs him off the road into the ditch across the street. Mr. Arbery keeps running.
If 2 men were chasing me with guns, yelling obscenities to me, I probably wouldn't stop either.
Mr. Bryan then attempts to hit him not once, not twice, but 3 more times with his pickup truck, thus committing aggravated assault. Mr. Arbery is now trapped between the 2 pickup trucks on Holmes Drive. He has no cell phone. He can't even call for help. As Mr. Bryan pursues him and forces him closer to the white pickup truck, Travis McMichael gets out, and Travis McMichael pulls out his 12-gauge shotgun. There's absolutely no reason to point the shotgun at Mr. Arbery, but he does.
You definitely see Travis McMichael fire 3 shots that tell a different story than what was initially portrayed. It does not show that Ahmaud Arbery was the aggressor, and it definitely doesn't show that the men acted in self-defense.
Within hours, the video goes viral.
When it was released, people had already called this a modern-day lynching, and they already felt like, this was racist behavior on the part of the defendants.
I was torn to pieces. It was just like, he really was just hunted down, like an animal.
I saw Emmett Till, and I saw it in modern day time. And like I said, I would never imagine actually bearing witness to anything like that in my lifetime. Was I angry about it? Oh, most definitely.
That day, hundreds of people take to the streets demanding justice.
The black community and the white community here really rose up in disgust by these guys.
It changed the narrative that Ahmaud was this brazen criminal who needed to be stopped.
Young people hit the street. The people who knew him, who went to school with him, who taught him in school, the people who was close to him, when they went out there in that community, all hell broke loose and everything changed.
It infuriates you, but it also empowers you. That you have to fight as hard as he did.
Due in part to the COVID-19 pandemic, the case also draws global attention.
Shutdowns were still happening. We were forced to pay attention to what was going on, even if it wasn't in our own neighborhood. And that, I believe, is what in particular drew larger support.
Like a wildfire, when that video dropped and hit social media, everyone saw it, not just Glenn County anymore. It made its way across the world to Africa. Everyone saw that video. So for what it did do, it got everybody watching. And it started holding people accountable.
Ahmaud's murder becomes linked to dozens of other high-profile cases, including Alton Sterling, Philando Castile, Breonna Taylor, and Trayvon Martin.
Well, you got to understand that we as a people, we took a lot of losses over the years, and they were unnecessary losses. In this particular situation, the law enforcement entity failed us severely because you know that a blind eye was kind of turned to it. And that was the unfortunate part about it.
Facing massive pressure from both the public and the media, Georgia Governor Brian Kemp refers the case to the Georgia Bureau of Investigation.
The GBI hits the ground May 6th, May 7th. They are canvassing the neighborhoods, all neighborhoods, Royal Oaks, Satilla Shores, the Fancy Bluff neighborhood. They're talking to any and everyone, all the people in the neighborhood who had video. They're going over all of the evidence.
For Ahmaud's loved ones, it's a vindication of their efforts to see justice done. But they also know there is still a long way to go. 3 days after the video of Ahmaud's death is made public, residents of Brunswick gather for a show of solidarity on what would have been his 26th birthday. They remember him for who he was and the difference he wanted to make in this world.
He was working toward his own goals to bettering himself, to either improve himself within his community or perhaps even move outside of Brunswick and make a name for himself there. Unfortunately, we'll never know.
He did nothing to deserve what he got. We have to realize in this world, being a black man, especially right now, this case, it brought it full circle for us. You can be accused of stuff you didn't do just because of how you look.
Amidst public outcry, the Georgia Bureau of Investigation reviews the video evidence and statements made to police.
Just based on a review of the evidence in about 48 hours, Special Agent Dial is able to determine that warrants for the arrest of Travis McMichael and Greg McMichael are appropriate, and they are arrested.
The governor assigns prosecution of the case to the Cobb County District Attorney's Office in Marietta.
We were able to hit the ground running in concert with the Georgia Bureau of Investigation to really work with them in tandem on the investigation and going forward with the prosecution.
Cobb County prosecutors charged the McMichaels with suspicion of felony murder and criminal attempt to commit false imprisonment. The move finally restores a bit of faith among Ahmaud supporters.
At the end of the day, we wanted answers and we wanted justice. We wanted change.
Pulled out of my driveway, was going to try to block you.
William Roddy Bryan, the man who made the video of Ahmaud's killing, had initially avoided charges like the McMichaels. But Cobb County prosecutors were determined to make sure he was brought to justice as well.
Mr. Bryan said, I tried to run him off the road this time, then I tried to hit him this time.
He actually pulled your handle?
I wouldn't be surprised if that's his warrants right there.
Okay.
He was trying to get the handle.
We actually had Mr. Arbery's palm print on the side of this car. He'd gotten that close to Mr. Arbery that Mr. Arbery had to probably, in our opinion, push away from the car to keep from being hit. The evidence of the case showed that he was acting as a party to the crime.
On May 21st, the DA's office decides to charge Bryan as well.
These men were not law enforcement, which made this case entirely different. And I think is what made it even more troublesome is that traditionally we had seen officers being the aggressors in these cases. And here there was such great lengths to protect those who were only law enforcement adjacent, which only reinforced this idea of a good old boy system.
4 days later, on May 25th, the video of George Floyd's murder adds more fuel to the fire.
Just get up.
His case and Ahmaud's become part of a national groundswell for social justice, with protests in every major city.
When I'm on social media and I see people marching in Minneapolis carrying signs that say justice for Ahmaud, we're in something a lot bigger than ourselves. That video expanded the community exponentially to a global call. And that window between the release of the video, the death of George Floyd, and the death of Breonna Taylor was transformative for a movement that had been moving since 2015.
The Cobb County DA's office impanels a grand jury and gets indictments against all three men.
The indictment charged all three of the defendants with malice murder, which basically means you just don't care about the consequences of what you're doing to this other person.
This was more than just a murder case or a hate crime. This was important to our community. This was important to our state. This was important to our nation, that we not just get to the root of all of these issues, but start to resolve some of the darkness that we found when we pulled the covers back.
Even with the indictments, the case is far from over. It will be up to a nearly all-white jury to determine if a crime was committed at all.
The defendants are white, and so most of the jury looks just like the defendants. Will this play in their favor? Will this render a not guilty verdict?
I'm expecting the worst.
In 2021, a trial date is set for Greg McMichael, Travis McMichael, and William Roddy Bryan. Jury selection begins in November and takes nearly 3 weeks.
It was a tough process. There were a lot of jurors who really felt uncomfortable. A lot of them, some knew the Arbery family, so if you didn't know the Arbery family, then you probably knew the McMichaels.
Courthouse security becomes another major concern.
We had the first black female district attorney in Cobb County at the time we got appointed the case. So she had her own set of security issues we had to worry about before we even got the case. And it only escalated things once we got it. Then we ended up getting the first black male district attorney in the county to win election. So the security threat went even higher.
threats would come via email, some of them social media. We're preparing for possible war. But at one point, we got some intel that a group of extremists were going to make their way down to South Georgia, and we were just getting ready for it. We're going to fight. We're going to fight. It was a big deal.
Inside the courtroom, however, the focus is on the evidence.
Linda Dunikoski and her team of prosecutors really laid that out, defining that in this particular instance, the McMichaels and William Bryan were the aggressor, that they initiated this, not Ahmaud Arbery, even if he had stolen something from the property, which, again, he did not.
The video did allow the jury to see exactly what took place in the moments before Mr. Arbery was murdered. We have Travis McMichael pointing a shotgun at the chest of Mr. Arbery, an unarmed jogger who has nothing in his hands. He's wearing a t-shirt and some cargo shorts. Never pulls a weapon out, never does anything. So for us, we knew just looking at this, you're the one with the shotgun and then you shot somebody. You're not in imminent fear of receiving serious bodily injury or death. You don't get to claim self-defense.
What happened to Ahmaud was because he was Black. Nothing more, nothing less.
The defense insists the case isn't about race, but about law-abiding citizens trying to prevent crime in their neighborhood.
One of the ways the defense tried to cast doubt on Ahmaud Arbery was just showing the repeated instances in which Ahmaud Arbery had been at the property that we've seen on video.
Obviously, the citizen's arrest narrative came into play once their attorneys got a hold of the case.
Travis McMichael takes the stand to tell the jury what happened from his perspective.
He testified that Ahmaud Arbery had grabbed his gun, and that's what led him to shoot. He did not necessarily say or try and vigorously paint Ahmaud Arbery as like this brazen criminal, but he more so took the behavior of, I acted in fear because a crime had been committed against me and I'd been a victim of crime before.
Were they in fact effectuating a citizen's arrest? The state's position was they were not. None of them ever mentioned that they were trying to effectuate a citizen's arrest. None of them said they were trying to arrest him. None of them actually used any of those words.
You did nothing wrong. You chose to do it because of what you feared. You feared him. And you feared him because he was Black. Everybody saw it for what it was.
On November 24th, the jury returns its verdict.
We, the jury, find the defendant, Travis McMichael, guilty.
They found Greg and Travis McMichael guilty of all the charges in the indictment. However, they found Mr. Bryan not guilty of the malice murder. They found him guilty of the remaining charges, though, which would be the aggravated assault and felony murder based on his use of his pickup truck to both assault Mr. Arbery and to falsely imprison him. It is an automatic life sentence. And at this point in time, that is what Greg McMichael and Travis McMichael have been sentenced to. Mr. Bryan was sentenced to life with the possibility of parole for his felony murder charge.
On February 22nd, 2022, a separate federal trial also finds the three men guilty of hate crimes.
You hear overwhelming evidence of racial animus on the part of each defendant. And that's when you really see more of how race played a factor.
Ahmaud's killers are behind bars, but for his loved ones and the city of Brunswick, justice is only the beginning.
What are we going to learn from Ahmaud? We've learned currently that racism still exists, prejudice still exists, but how do we move forward? What are we going to do? You can talk all day, but until you put it into action, it means absolutely nothing. It's just a thought.
Ahmaud Arbery's death is definitely a dark cloud, but from that you've seen a great deal of change. And hopefully, and for some residents, they're hopeful that that means improved changes in Brunswick.
She was a loving mother who dedicated her life to caring for others.
You've got a young lady who is working hard to provide for a family. She had a lot of responsibility being a mother of 5 and a nurse.
So when she reconnected with an old flame, it was finally her turn to take it easy.
You're completely caring for all of these people in your life. So it's like, who is actually caring for you?
They had dated previously, came back together, reunited. It was really something beautiful.
But now, her life hangs in the balance after a vicious attack leaves her in critical condition.
911 gets this call. This woman is panicking.
Someone ran her off the road.
Was it a violent outburst by another motorist?
They were wondering if this was a major case of road rage.
Or was she being hunted by a cold-blooded killer?
Somebody's following me. This man has been living a double life. Everything she thought she knew was a lie.
Can we please start over, quit playing games, and tell us what happened to this poor lady?
Individuals cannot think out a lie to the nth degree. There's always going to be something that trips you up.
Truth doesn't always set you free.
October 5th, 2021. It's a warm autumn day in LaGrange, Georgia, a small southern town an hour outside of Atlanta.
LaGrange Troup County is located on Interstate 85 and Interstate 185. A lot of rural area, but the town is growing.
It's west of Atlanta, but there's still a decent amount of crime.
While LaGrange police are used to dealing with common crimes, the 911 call they received this Tuesday afternoon takes them by surprise.
Troup County 911. Somebody's shooting at me.
A 911 call comes in, and it is a woman frantic.
She says someone is shooting at her.
In fact, she thinks she's been hit.
Bleeding. Oh, no.
The caller identifies herself as 28-year-old Akilah Ware.
She tells the dispatcher that she's in her car and the shooter is chasing her.
Ma'am, are you in Harris County? Do you know right off the bat?
But before the 911 operator can pin down her location, their connection is lost.
They hear a loud noise, it goes blank.
Ma'am. Ma'am.
Growing up in rural Georgia, Akilah Ware had Southern hospitality ingrained in her from birth.
She loved people. She loved help. No matter what she was going through, she would give you her last.
She liked to bring everybody together. She liked to laugh. To meet Akilah, you know, was to love her.
Akilah's caring personality earned her plenty of friends during school. And it also inspired the career she chose to pursue after graduation.
She had actually wanted to be a nurse for quite some time. She did the RN program down at Southern Union. I spent like countless nights and days, you know, helping her study while she was in school, and I actually helped her prepare for the board exam as well.
I never forget, she called me and said, "Oh, I passed the test." She was so excited.
How is my favorite patient?
Oh, doing great. How are you doing today?
Akilah's job as a home health nurse allowed her to do what she loved best, spend quality time with her patients.
She loved the patients. That was her passion.
Thank you so much.
She treated those patients like they was family.
But by her late 20s, Akilah also had a family of her own to look after.
She has 5 kids. And as a single mom, that's a lot to handle on your own.
Once Akilah became a parent, her main focus was to protect her kids and always keep them together.
She was willing to put in the hard work it took to give her children a good life.
The goal was to be able to get the kids to be successful, to not go through some of the things we went through growing up.
She's working those long hours, knowing she's got to provide for her family the best she can.
But just because Akilah excelled as a single mom didn't mean she'd given up on finding companionship.
She did want love, genuine love. That was her goal, to finally be happy.
Akilah had dated different guys, but no one ever felt like the right fit.
Until one day after work, she ran into someone she'd known since high school.
Alonzo?
Alonzo Dargan Jr.
I thought you moved out of town.
I did. I live out of town. I'm actually here visiting.
Akilah and Alonzo had dated previously in high school.
After graduation, the pair had taken separate paths. Akilah pursued a career in nursing, while Alonzo enlisted in the Army.
He's doing well in the military, promising career.
This is someone who's familiar. That gives a sense of comfortability.
Hey, I'm in town for a few weeks. I don't know if you wanted to grab dinner sometime.
How's tomorrow?
Catching up with her old flame for the first time in more than a decade, Akilah felt a spark.
I'll see you soon.
He made her feel things, and she cared about him, and he cared about her.
In their short time together, Akilah and Alonzo built an unshakable bond.
Akilah FaceTimed me one day, and she was like, I want you to meet my new friend. She was like, I'm happy. This might be it.
But there was one major roadblock on their path to happiness.
He actually lived on the Army base, Fort Bragg in North Carolina.
That's a 6-hour drive.
Steadfast in their love, the young couple refused to let distance stand in their way.
He often had to travel to her, but he never missed a beat.
I'm gonna leave this weekend, so I am, yeah. So I'll be there as soon as I can.
It was good to see her happy and smiling, you know. She deserved it. Finally, she had somebody who could be there and sincere, you know.
I was like, match made in heaven, invite me to the wedding.
But instead of wedding bells, the air in LaGrange, Georgia is filled with the sound of gunshots as Akilah Ware flees an armed gunman down a rural highway.
911 confirmed that she was actually saying they're shooting at me, and we heard the gunshots in the background.
All of a sudden, the call goes silent.
So they traced back the call, and they got a hit along a remote stretch of Route 18.
She might be trapped inside the vehicle or heavily damaged.
When police arrive on the scene, the gravity of the situation immediately sets in.
She was a very violent crash. It pushed a lot of the motor and a lot of other parts out of the vehicle.
And the woman behind the wheel is in grave danger.
Akilah was trapped in the vehicle. Fire department EMS was doing their part to assess her.
But they quickly realize hers isn't the only life at stake.
They got her out of the car, and then that's when we realized,
oh, she's pregnant.
After spending years as a single mom, Akilah Ware found the answer to her prayers in a military man named Alonzo Dargan Jr.
He was stationed 2 states away, but they were making it work long distance.
She was willing to relocate, you know, find a new job. Not only she found a man, but she found a man that's in the Army. He's about his business. She's about her business. It looked like it was going to be a match made in heaven.
So I'll be there as soon as I can.
Together, they were planning for a bright future of marital bliss.
He wanted her. He wanted life with her and the kids and for them to build together.
She felt like he was going to be the perfect future husband.
But now the young couple's future hangs in the balance as law enforcement in LaGrange, Georgia raced to save Akilah's life.
People were calling us that they saw the car off the road and were explaining to us how serious the crash was.
They had to go get the jaws of life to literally extract her from the vehicle.
We knew it was a very bad vehicle accident with injuries. But once they got her out of the car, we realized she was pregnant.
This is a critical time because not only do they have to try to save her life, they're also worried about the baby's life.
As paramedics rush Akilah from the scene, her condition is serious.
She was not really stabilized, but did the best they could to get her prepared for transport.
This is life or death.
She was transported to a Columbus, Georgia area hospital to try to save her life. They were rolling pretty quickly to get her down there.
Meanwhile, investigators from the Troup County Sheriff's Office start sifting through the rubble to piece together what happened.
This was a chaotic situation. The first officers on the scene weren't really sure what to make of this. Was this a drunk driver? Was this, did they try to avoid hitting something and run into something?
It's not uncommon for us to have serious crashes around here. We've got 2 major interstates, a lot of highways.
But it doesn't take long for the investigators to realize this is no run-of-the-mill car crash.
The first thing that we noticed on the car, outside of the damage, was the obvious bullet holes that were on the driver's side of the car. Once we saw those bullet holes, we knew this was something more than just a very bad crash.
They're just trying to figure out what is going on. Is this a road rage accident, or what led up to this?
Road rage in itself has definitely become something that, does end up sometimes in fatal situations. I've definitely heard of situations of people being followed home, kidnapped.
If it is a road rage, a true road rage scenario, then typically the individuals don't know each other. And so it's going to be really hard to be able to find a lead.
Was Akilah shot by an irate driver who wanted to run her off the road? Or is there another possibility?
If this was a road rage incident, you would expect the shooter to be firing wildly out of control. But that's not what they found.
It wasn't like there were just bullet holes scattered all throughout the car. It was a very, very tight pattern.
Someone who knew how to use a firearm was firing into that vehicle.
And it's clear they were shooting at Akilah.
This was personal.
This wasn't just, you cut me off, now I want to scare you. It seemed more serious than that.
But who would want to hurt a person as kind and thoughtful as Akilah? The crime scene offers a few clues.
There are several marks that's on the back of the vehicle that looks like the vehicle is being rammed on both sides of the bumper as well as a side door.
They find silver paint on the car that was in the accident. They also find a Nissan hubcap.
Hey, look what we got here.
So now they're like, maybe it's a silver Nissan we should be looking for.
So that narrows it down from any other cars out there.
Not sure what kind, but it's a silver Nissan.
Okay.
Then eyewitnesses offer more insight into what led up to the crash.
A number of people that had witnessed the crash and called 911 waited on the scene for police to arrive. So they were able to describe exactly what they saw.
I was traveling east, and suddenly, coming towards me, there was a dark car and a silver car that appeared to be racing. And the silver car was in my lane, fixed to hit me head on, and I had to get off the road.
Several witnesses actually said that they did see sort of a chase that was happening.
One thing is consistent across every eyewitness account. This was no act of road rage.
Seeing vehicles driving on the wrong side of the road gives the indication that this is something that progressed over a period of miles and not something that happened at the spur of the moment.
Usually with road rage incidents is there's an outburst and then it's done.
The person who did this was pursuing her and hunting her.
Someone wanted Akilah dead.
Pregnant mother of 5, Akilah Ware, has been gravely injured following a bizarre incident in which she was pursued, shot, and forced off the road by an unidentified gunman.
When we arrived, we knew it was a very critical situation.
At first, police thought this could be an extreme case of road rage. But after speaking with eyewitnesses to the car chase, they believe someone wanted Akilah dead.
This had been planned.
And by the time detectives arrive on scene, there was word from the hospital that whoever it was had succeeded.
Unfortunately, Akilah dies from the injuries.
It's a tragedy compounded by the loss of her unborn child.
They discover that one of the bullets was shot through Akilah's uterus and struck the baby, and both are pronounced dead.
Now this is a homicide. It's also a feticide at this point.
News of the terrible loss leaves Akilah's loved ones speechless.
I was in a rage, just devastated that she's gone.
We had just seen each other. I couldn't believe it. She's 8 months pregnant. She can't be dead. How?
With an armed killer on the loose, homicide investigators can't afford to leave Akilah's family to grieve in peace.
It's obviously very important at that point to try to get what we can from them.
We believe this was a targeted attack.
That doesn't even make any sense. Akilah didn't have any enemies or problems with anyone.
According to her loved ones, Akilah was enjoying one of the happiest times of her life after reconnecting with an old high school boyfriend named Alonzo Dargan Jr.
She was planning on moving out there after the baby was born.
Hearing that Akilah was in a relationship piques the detective's interest. But her family insists that Alonzo couldn't have had anything to do with this.
He was willing to make that 6-hour drive from Fort Bragg down to LaGrange to be with her, buying clothes for the, unborn child.
Everything seemed to be beautiful between the two.
Besides, they tell police Alonzo hasn't made the trip down to Georgia in weeks.
She said that he was busy in the military, hasn't had a chance to get away.
He was not in the area at that time and could not have been the suspect.
We'll be back in touch soon. Sorry again for your loss.
Investigators walk away from the conversation without any solid leads.
Homicide.
But when they hear from Akilah's best friend, Jabari Watson, a potential suspect starts to come into focus.
She had a baby father that, previously he had acted a little weird.
She got 2 kids by him. I think she had a restraining order against him, but she talked about taking out a restraining order against him. So, he was the first person that came to interest with this situation.
I informed him that, here's someone that I think you should check into.
When police run the ex's name by other individuals in Akilah's inner circle, they get confirmation that the pair had a troubled relationship.
This was the aunt Akilah confided with about her situation with the father of her children.
I just remember her telling me that she was afraid of him.
Okay. When's the last time she told you that?
It was around the time that it was leading up to her getting the order.
In fact, prior to speaking with Akilah's aunt, detectives had already learned that just a few hours before she was killed, Akilah had squared off against her ex in a courtroom custody battle.
She's gonna try to get full custody of the kids.
She had a court case this week.
She actually had it this morning. And the judge gave joint custody with her having primary. So that was the outcome of the case this morning.
Oh no, that's not good. That's not good at all.
Could it be a motive for murder?
Custody battles can get extremely ugly and drive people to do things you could not imagine.
Police believe they may have identified the man responsible for killing Akilah. But before they can bring him in for questioning, they receive another tip.
The tipster turned out to be the wife of one of Akilah's patients.
She has some pretty important information that they need to check out.
She said Akilah recently shared some concerning information about a man who followed her to work.
This man was stalking her.
But she doesn't think it was her ex-boyfriend.
The one thing I know is that he's in the military.
Could this be Alonzo Dargan?
Okay.
After learning that Akilah Ware was going through an ugly custody battle with one of her exes, Georgia police believed he could be responsible for her murder.
He wanted full custody, but it turned out he ended up being crazy.
Akilah changed her phone number just so she can get away from this guy so he can stop calling.
He is suspect number one.
Where she was working.
But now a new witness has put forward another troubling possibility.
Akilah worked in the medical field, and the wife of one of her patients had a tip for the police and came forth and said, I need to share some things with you all.
The woman tells detectives that a few weeks earlier when Akilah was at her home, something strange happened.
She said Akilah came over to draw some blood from her husband.
That for me.
And received a text that seemed to kind of rattle her and disturb her.
I knew she had, things going on she was talking to my husband about.
But this time, it seemed more serious than drama with an ex-boyfriend.
She says Akilah immediately starts looking out the window, and she notices a car with a black man sitting in it.
This man was stalking her. I know he was. We were like, how do you know where you were? And she said she don't know how he knew where she was or anything.
The woman says she actually asked her, what can we do to help you? And Akilah said, it's okay, I have it. But finding out what happened to her now, she really felt like she needed to come forward with this information.
Was Akilah Stalker the father of her children, trying to intimidate her before their upcoming custody hearing?
Investigators are asking her, well, did she ever go into detail about who this person was?
So the only thing I know is that he's in the military, and I know his first name starts with A. That's all I know.
It's information that takes the investigators by surprise.
The ex-boyfriend that they're investigating, his name did not start with the letter A, but the name of Akilah's current boyfriend does.
Is the woman describing Akilah's long-distance boyfriend and father of her unborn child, Alonzo Dargan Jr.
I don't know if he's stationed, I can't remember if he's stationed in Virginia or North Carolina. It was one of them two.
So now they're trying to put all together like, maybe this is Alonzo that they're looking for.
But according to Akilah's family, Alonzo hasn't been to Georgia in weeks.
North Carolina is a long ways away, to drive all the way to Columbus just to pop up at someone's job.
This seems a little far-fetched, especially if you take into consideration how strong their relationship was. But detectives know they need to eliminate Alonzo before they can move on.
They start by contacting his commanding officer in the U.S. Army.
He was an active duty soldier, and so our team was able to contact Fort Bragg.
Hello.
Over the phone, the commanding officer tells police that Alonzo is one of his best soldiers.
He had a good record as a soldier, was on the up and up with them. There was nothing that, quote unquote, red flags that showed up as someone capable of doing this.
He didn't have prior convictions, acts of violence that you often see when somebody commits a murder.
Have you noticed any unusual behavior from Alonzo lately?
Has he failed to report for duty?
Nothing out of the ordinary. He
He actually stepped out on leave earlier this week.
We did learn that he did get a leave off of base.
Do you know why he took that leave? He had a family issue and he needed to take care of that, but he did come back in earlier this morning.
The fact that Alonzo has been away for the last 2 days grabs the detective's attention.
Once we realized he did actually leave base, that time frame fit. And so all of that was really coming together.
Could Alonzo have been in Georgia after all?
After discovering Alonzo had taken leave, the detectives decided to level with his commanding officer.
The investigators let the commanding officer know that they are questioning him about Alonzo because he is a suspect in the murder of his girlfriend and unborn child.
His girlfriend?
Yes.
Akilah where? I don't understand.
He was confused.
The commanding officer is like, well, that can't be possible.
Hey, babe.
Because Alonzo Dargan is a married man with a family already that lives on base.
Don't worry, I missed you.
Detectives investigating the murder of Akilah Ware have just learned that her long-distance boyfriend, U.S. Army Sergeant Alonzo Dargan Jr., has been hiding a secret family on his military base in North Carolina.
Where the baby's at?
Investigators are shocked because they're like, whoa, Alonzo Dargan Jr. has been living a double life.
The entire time Akilah and him was together, she thought she was the only woman he had eyes for. Come to find out, he had a whole nother family.
What you been doing all day?
Investigators believe they've uncovered a clear motive for Alonzo to want Akilah dead.
Once we learned he was married at the time, had a child with this other lady, that's when the ball started rolling in that direction.
Akilah was 8 months pregnant, and the house of cards that he built was about to come crashing down with the birth of that child.
He wanted to kill her before she had the baby.
Yeah, thank you, sir. Yeah.
Hoping to turn up evidence to support their suspicions, Georgia investigators asked the military police for a copy of Alonzo's vehicle registration records.
On military bases, soldiers typically have to register their personal vehicles so they can get in and out of the security gates surrounding the facility.
They find out Alonzo drives a silver Nissan. This is the other car that they believe was involved in the death of Akilah.
Using Alonzo's license plate number, investigators are able to track his movements while he was on leave.
There are things called flock cameras that catch tags just driving down the interstate. They're at different places, and law enforcement agencies have them set up, and so you can track somebody's movements if you know their license plate.
It was actually determined that he was in LaGrange at that point. And then they felt strongly enough to arrest him.
While military police take Alonzo into custody, Georgia investigators make the long drive to Fort Bragg to meet with their suspect in person.
We worked jointly with the Army to detain him and start the initial questioning.
At first, Alonzo appears to be cooperative.
Are you willing to talk to us?
But when the police asked him when was the last time he had been in Georgia, he said it had been weeks.
When was the last time you was in LaGrange?
17th of last month.
17th last month? What were you doing there?
Training, and I actually visited her.
You went to visit who?
Akilah.
It's a statement the investigators know to be a lie.
I know that you've been in LaGrange, Troup County, Tuesday.
I wasn't in LaGrange on Tuesday.
You wasn't in LaGrange?
No, sir.
He initially, denied being down here, and I think that kind of was a window into how he thought he would get away with this.
I can prove, from my gas, my checking accounts, my knowledge of my vehicle. Mm-hmm. This shows that I did not have my vehicle there.
He said, prove it, prove I was down there.
That's when detectives lay the evidence out in front of him.
Okay. I can prove to you with cameras that your vehicle was there.
You were in LaGrange, Georgia on Tuesday, and you murdered this woman and your unborn child.
That's your car. So can we please start over, quit playing games, and tell us what happened to this poor lady and this precious child that was gunned down and murdered?
Once they showed him evidence that proved that, he stopped talking.
I'd like a lawyer, sir.
While Alonzo refuses to come clean, the recording of his interview is still damning evidence against him.
That interview can be played to a jury. And if a jury's finding out that you're lying, that all but shored up that case really quick.
But just because police can prove Alonzo is lying doesn't mean they can convict him of murder. For that, they turn to his wife.
Hello, ma'am. Are you Mrs. Dargan?
Yes. What is this about? Investigators start speaking with Alonzo's wife and asking her about knowing about this woman, Akilah.
No. They were hoping when she found out the full extent of everything that was going on, she'd give them what they needed to put Alonzo away.
We have reason to believe that your husband was having an affair with her.
When they explained everything that has happened, she is shocked.
She was recently murdered.
It was absolutely devastating and alarming for her to hear that Alonzo had been cheating, that he had been building a whole nother family.
But she insists that her husband is no killer.
Well, you're obviously mistaken. Alonzo is a good man. He would never cheat on me, and he certainly would never kill anyone.
She was uncooperative, and maybe that's just her being instinctively defensive of her husband.
Regardless of her reasons, investigators will need more evidence to move forward with their case against Alonzo.
So the next action step was to impound the car.
They were thinking his vehicle might contain the physical evidence they were needing to connect him to the crime.
When police execute their search warrant, it seems like they may be right.
Alonzo's car did in fact match the damages on Akilah's car.
The hubcap is missing. There's the paint from the other car.
But the most shocking evidence of all comes when the investigators look under the back seat.
They found a spent shell casing from a 9mm handgun.
It was the same caliber of bullets that they retrieved from Akilah's body.
Yeah, that's it.
That is what sealed it.
After discovering a shell casing from the gun that was used to kill Akilah Ware in the back seat of her married boyfriend's car, police are confident they've arrested the right man.
This is a tale of a man that lived a double life, and when getting caught up in efforts of trying to protect his marriage, he killed someone.
News of Alonzo's arrest takes Akilah's loved ones completely by surprise.
Once we heard and got confirmation that it was Alonzo, we was very, very shocked.
It was mind-blowing to me. Alonzo was supposed to be different. Supposed to be somebody who cared about her, the kids.
Somehow, Alonzo managed to pull the wool over everyone's eyes.
And it's like, oh, he's married. What? She did not know that. She wasn't nobody who was messing with him on the side.
If they was late night creeping and cheating, I would have been like, it was wrong, but it wasn't the situation.
He put it out there. He wanted to marry Akilah. She was not a side woman.
While it may be hard to believe, investigators are convinced their case is airtight.
We knew we had the right guy. It was clear he did it.
And less than a week after Akilah was gunned down, Alonzo Dargan Jr. is officially charged with her murder.
There were several charges: malice murder, felony murder, feticide, aggravated assault, possession of a firearm during the commission of a crime.
The charges are very hefty on this one.
The malice murder as well as the felony murder both hold a death penalty. Feticide carries a life sentence as well.
With his life on the line, Alonzo decides not to take his chances in a courtroom.
His defense attorneys looked at the case file, they looked at the facts, and then he did take what plea was offered to him.
As a condition of his plea agreement, Alonzo is required to provide a full confession of his crime.
At that time, Alonzo confessed to the murder of Akilah Ware.
Akilah?
He starts by revealing that his motive was exactly what police suspected.
Alonzo was trying to protect his marriage by getting rid of his girlfriend and their unborn child.
With less than a month before Akilah was due to give birth, he knew he was running out of time.
When that child came, he knew all his lies were going to be exposed.
Somebody's following me.
After taking leave from his post at Fort Bragg, Alonzo drove more than 400 miles to LaGrange, Georgia, to kill the mother of his child.
You had 6 hours to drive and think and possibly turn around, possibly change the narrative, but you stuck to it. That is scary.
He said that he drove from Fort Bragg and was waiting outside of Akilah's home for her to leave for work.
He followed her around that morning, his cell phone hitting every signal that she hit.
When Akilah realized she was being followed, the situation quickly escalated into a high-speed chase.
There was some swerving that happened as he was following behind her, some switching of lanes, and at that point, he opened fire.
He shot at her car. Then he ran her off the road, knowing that she was 8 months pregnant.
He actually rammed into the back of her vehicle, tail spinning the vehicle out of control, and eventually it hit a tree.
Alonzo didn't bother to stick around to make sure the job was done.
He booked it out of there and sped back to Fort Bragg, as if nothing had happened.
He thought he was gonna be able to go home and get away with it and just live a normal life.
Alonzo's violent actions are almost too monstrous to comprehend.
Like, she was ready to uproot her whole life, her kid's life, to move, to be with him. Like, it just, we did not see this coming.
Was calculating and planned. You're a cold-hearted killer.
On January 27, 2023, Alonzo stands before a Troup County judge and pleads guilty to all of the charges against him.
Under Georgia law, if you're sentenced to consecutive life sentences, in this case, once for the murder of the victim, once for the feticide of the unborn child, the law requires you to serve 60 years before you're parole eligible.
He'll be 90 plus years by the time
She was more than just a big sister. Yeah, she took care of me like a mother.
Somebody said, "Are you ready?" And I was like, yeah, because I'm not thinking that this is my baby. They pulled the shade, and when they pulled the shade, I looked down and it was my baby. It was her.
What's your emergency?
I'm on 90 westbound under 41st Street, and there's a dead body laying on the berm.
There was bruising and scrapes on the body and ligature marks around the neck.
Another tip comes in. She lent her van to an ex. There was blood everywhere.
We were very shocked because nobody knew him, so now, how? What happened?
What I'm supposed to say? The truth.
He decided he would show her who's in control.
I try to think about her last moments. That stuff haunts me.
It's just before dawn on April 5th, 2010, in Cleveland, Ohio. Interstate 90 is starting to buzz with morning traffic when a highway worker passing through notices something out of place on the side of the road.
There was an employee with the Department of Transportation who drove by and he actually stopped and backed up. And as he backed up and got a closer view, he did realize that it was the body of what appeared to be a black female.
911, what's your emergency? I'm on 90 westbound under 41st Street, and there's a dead body laying on the berm.
Right at about 6:30 in the morning, Cleveland police respond to the scene. They close the westbound side of the highway.
As the police arrived shortly thereafter, they did recognize the body as a black female, approximately late 20s, early 30s. They said that the body was in a soft fetal position, as they described it. Also, they did verify that the body was unclothed. They also recognized right away that there was bruising and scrapes on the body and ligature marks around the neck, which indicated that there had been strangulation.
Nothing at the scene gives the police any immediate clues about the identity of the victim. For now, she is classified as a Jane Doe. Her body is taken to the Cuyahoga County Coroner's Office.
There was information put out over the internet and the TV screens about tattoos that she had.
On the west side of Cleveland, Patricia Bradley watches the news with her daughters, Nadia and Edna.
The news was always on in the house. I heard a man say, like, a body was found on the road, on the side of the road. I heard that the body was a female, a lot of tattoos.
The family grows concerned because the description matches their loved one, 26-year-old Angel Bradley Crockett. Angel hasn't answered her phone all day.
I kept her 8-month-old that night, and her 2 oldest children went to the east side with my cousin, and they watched them for her. She was supposed to come back that morning to pick up the baby, like around the afternoon time.
But Angel didn't come back.
When it happened, it was abnormal that she wasn't answering her phone.
She got kids. She would have never been away from her kids, never.
The news reporter then releases additional details of the person found.
She had tattoos everywhere. She had on her leg, the lower back, her legs.
I seen that flash on the news, and I'm like, ain't no way. And I called the coroners. I was describing her. Do she have this tattoo, that tattoo? She had a heart tattoo. And then she had her kids on her ankle, and she had like a big tattoo up her arm, and then she had like a big tattoo on her back. And it was the one on her back, and they was like, you guys need to get down here.
I prayed that because I believe in God. So I pray that this is not my child.
At the coroner's office, Angel's mother confronts her worst fear.
He took us back there, and they had this little room, and they had this big glass back there. I'll never forget it. Somebody said, "Are you ready?" And I was like, yeah, because I'm not thinking that this is my baby, And they pulled the shade, and when they pulled the shade, I looked down, and when I looked down, I don't remember nothing else. All I remember is they carried me out, and I can remember them putting something up under my nose to wake me up, because I really passed out, and they woke me up. But it was my baby. It was her.
Angel Lucretia Bradley was born on August 1st, 1983, in Cleveland, Ohio.
In total, I have 12 beautiful kids. I was 22 when I had Angel, and Angel was my oldest daughter. When I first had Angel, you know, her dad was right there, and he just said, "That's my sugar bone." And ever since then, she was just happy. She wasn't a crybaby. She was a happy kid, and we all called her Sugar Bone.
Angel is the second oldest. I'm the fourth. She was the mother figure out of the clique. So we'll play house. And her definition of playing house is making us clean the house.
She was more than just a big sister. Yeah, she was a big sister, but she was that big sister. So she took care of me, clothed me, everything. She took care of me. Like a mother, like literally.
Angel grew into a beautiful young woman with a unique style.
If she step out, she's going to be dressed, she's going to have on her jewelry, and her hair is going to be done. That's the kind of person she was. Like, she's not stepping out the door without being put together.
In 1999, while still in high school, Angel had to grow up fast.
When she had her first daughter, I was 7. So she was young, she was 16. And I just remember her, I remember her coming home with her and everything, and she was just with us.
At age 21, she gave birth to a second child. By then, Angel was more prepared to take on the responsibilities of motherhood.
Her second baby, yeah, she grew up. She grew up a little bit. She was more family-oriented. Not that she wasn't family-oriented, but she didn't go out as much. She was more home, like she became more reserved.
Then in 2008, Angel met the man she would marry.
When she met Johnny, it was like everything went fast. Like fast.
One thing I liked about him, he never treated her kids like they weren't his. He stepped right into, I think he liked being a father and having a family, because I didn't think he had that. With him, like, I seen a different, like, side of her or whatever. Like, it was like it changed good.
Angel and Johnny exchanged vows on August 8, 2008. 1 year later, they welcomed a son.
She was in a beautiful relationship for the most part. From what I seen, you know, everything was beautiful. I mean, they had everything under the sun.
At that point, from the outside looking in, it looked like she had a good life.
But less than a year later, Angel's family makes a visit to the Cuyahoga County Coroner's Office that will change their lives forever.
They did go to the morgue to identify the person that the police had in their custody. They did indeed realize it was Angel.
I feel real bad for any mother to have to walk in there and identify their child. But I had to identify my baby because that's my baby, you know. She was my everything.
Even though Angel has been identified, Cleveland police find no other evidence along the side of the interstate where her body was found.
Because there was no evidence found, it was determined that Angel was not killed at that site, but was killed somewhere else and dumped at that site. So the police, as a result, have no idea where or why she was murdered, and everything about this case so far is a mystery.
Cleveland detectives speak with her family.
They were taking in accountability of our thoughts and, you know, what we had to say. Because that first day, that's all we were. Who did this? Who did it?
Everybody was trying to like really piece her night together and when the last time they seen her and the time frames and stuff like that and who the last person she was seen with.
Family members say Angel spent the previous day with them.
We had just came back from the IX Center amusement park. Everybody was getting ready to go out. It was Easter. So everybody is going out. She want to find a babysitter for the kids.
Angel's cousins volunteered to watch her 2 older kids, and her mother and sister agreed to take care of her youngest.
When she asked me to take care of the baby that night, she was going out to the club. I don't know what club, but she was going out to the club. I'll be back in the morning to pick him up.
Angel's family tells police that she had plans to meet up with a man.
I don't know his name. We just knew him as Smoke.
Angel and Smoke had known each other from the neighborhood.
I can't say she was in a relationship because they was just friends. I mean, what they did, I don't know what they did. I wasn't there, but they always was, was friends.
Angel was still married, but she was separated and estranged from her husband, who was in prison now.
They got into a physical altercation, and she was hospitalized.
We saw her when she came home from hospital because she came to our house, so it was just, heartbreaking. Nobody want to see their sibling like that.
That was the last time he put his hands on her, because she put him in the penitentiary. That never happened in her life, dealing with any guys, and that was the first time, and it was the last time.
The family says Johnny remains incarcerated. Angel was trying to move on with her life, but the family expresses concern that Johnny could be holding a grudge.
According to Angel's sister Nadia, rumors were swirling around that potentially Johnny had hired someone to kill Angel in revenge for getting him incarcerated.
The family is also suspicious of Angel's friend, Smoke.
She went to go meet him about 11 p.m. at night to go to the bar, and she was supposed to be coming back home afterwards. The bar closed at 2:30.
Angel's mother tells police that in the early morning, she receives a phone call from Smoke.
The guy is calling, asking us, where's Sugarbone at? And we was like, she was with you.
How are you looking for her if she was with you? And then he was like, I'm sorry. I'm sorry, ma'am. I'm sorry. And hung up.
A few hours later, Smoke called again.
He was like, I ain't trying to bug you or nothing to that effect, but it's just odd that she haven't called me or nothing to that effect. So that's when I got real worried.
According to relatives, Angel told them that Smoke always kept close tabs on her.
I know, she was saying, he was buggy. Like he'll drop her off and then call her. When you just dropped me off at home. And then if she didn't answer, he'll be calling my grandma's house phone or whatever to see was she over my grandma because she had her own house. At the time, I think she was in the process of breaking that relationship up with the boyfriend.
Angel felt that he was too clingy and a little possessive, and this was a red flag for investigators.
Based on interviews with the family, investigators narrow their focus to Angel's husband, Johnny, and her alleged boyfriend, Smoke. They reach out to the Ohio prison system and try to track down Johnny. And the family gives them a phone number for Smoke so they can start searching for him.
Then investigators learn there could be another explanation behind Angel's death.
She had a brand new vehicle. She had a lot of jewelry on her. The jewelry that she was wearing would definitely attract attention.
She didn't have any of this jewelry on her when she was found. And police learned that her brand new SUV is also missing.
Patricia lets the police know that Angel's SUV is also missing, so police put out a bolo for that vehicle, hoping that they can find Angel's killer.
In the midst of that situation, everybody was taking care of the kids. We were all over my grandmother's house. So everybody was taking care of the kids. And we talked to my nephew, he was too young. He was only 8 months. The little girls, they were 8 and 4. So I don't think the 4-year-old really understood. The 8-year-old understood because her and her mom were close. And they were just shattered and devastated.
They took it as good as they babies, as good as they could take it. The first thing they do is look up at me. So I'm like, come on, you guys coming with me, And that's what I did. I took the kids with me.
Hours after Angel Bradley Crockett's body was discovered on the side of the interstate, Cleveland investigators meet with the Cuyahoga County medical examiner to learn her cause of death.
It is determined by the medical examiner that the cause of death is strangulation and blunt force trauma to the head, trunk, and extremities. Angel was dead before she was placed on the roadside.
Of course, they had suspected this was a homicide and had treated it as such, but now it's official.
Cleveland police attempt to track down Smoke, the man Angel went out with on the night she died.
They were able to get a phone number from one of his family members, and they tracked that phone number to an address on West 33rd Street. They went to the address, but Smoke was not there, but somehow they found out that he was actually at Metro Hospital.
He was at the hospital because him and his baby mother had got into a physical altercation. That was the same night that Angel disappeared.
According to Smoke, after Angel left the club, he got into an altercation with his ex-girlfriend. The situation ended up in a physical fight, which is how he ended up at the hospital. He appears to be visibly scratched.
Because Smoke was the last person seen with Angel, and now with them finding him at the hospital scratched up, obviously the police's first thought would be that this fight occurred between him and Angel.
Smoke's story raises suspicions, and the police start to think that he could be a part of Angel's murder. The police decide to verify his alibi as the next step.
Police are able to confirm that the story he is telling is true. His time is accounted for the time they believe Angel was killed.
So the police were convinced that he was not involved and that his injuries had nothing to do with Angel's homicide.
The second suspect that the police look into is Angel's husband, Johnny, who's incarcerated.
At the time of her murder, her husband was in prison because of the domestic violence situation in their relationship. They think maybe her husband had something to do with it, from jail, because they had just got into that domestic violence situation. And, with her, going to court, testifying, people, do crazy stuff.
When police speak with Johnny, he appears visibly shocked by the news. He expressed the same disbelief and grief as Angel's family and agreed to cooperate in any way that he could.
When the interview is over, investigators dismiss Johnny as a potential suspect.
Since Johnny was incarcerated during Angel's murder, he had an ironclad alibi.
With him being in prison, he couldn't have been there physically to injure Angel, and they ruled out any motive or any idea that he could have hired someone to hurt her.
Then, on Tuesday, April 6th, 24 hours after Angel was last seen alive, Cleveland police get a lead.
The police do receive a tip from a neighbor about an abandoned vehicle that had been parked on the street for 2 days.
It is an SUV, and it's identified by officers as the subject of the Bolo alert. This is Angel's car. It was located on the east side, about 5 miles from where her body was found.
Authorities tow the vehicle to the impound lot, where it can be processed for evidence.
There was no evidence in her car that was immediately helpful to the investigation. They were able to send some DNA samples off, but those will take time to come back.
The technicians who process the vehicle make a note of its condition.
They noticed what appeared to be some fresh damage to the rear end, which reportedly was otherwise in really good shape. And that was verified by her mother, Patricia, when they asked her about the damage. Patricia said that damage was not there the day before, so this was new and fresh damage, which probably was evidence that something else had gone on in the vehicle or to the vehicle.
The vehicle had been in some sort of fender bender the night that Angel died. They had to consider on whether that had anything to do with her death.
Investigators dig deep, searching for any potential leads.
That's when an investigator made a potential connection between Angel's murder and a phone call that had come in a couple of days before.
Another tip comes in, and this person indicates to police that she lent her van to an ex on Easter Sunday. The ex returned her vehicle in worse shape to her than when she had lent it. The front end and bumper of her van was badly damaged, but it was what she found inside of her van that made her call police. There was blood everywhere.
There was front-end damage to her van, and Angel's SUV also had damage. Is this the vehicle that caused the damage to her car? Could that be her blood inside?
Three days after Angel Bradley Crockett's murder, Cleveland police contact a woman who called in to say her boyfriend returned her borrowed van with damage to the front end and blood inside.
The woman says that her ex-boyfriend, Stephen Davis, borrowed her van on Sunday, April 4th at about 10 p.m.
When she asked Stephen Davis what had happened to the vehicle, he pretty much just shook his head and walked away from her with no explanation.
For investigators, the timeline Stefan had the van is an immediate red flag.
And he did not return the van until Monday, April 5th, around 7 a.m. The 9-hour window matches the time in which Angel was last seen and when her body was taken from the scene.
They take a look at the van, which has already been towed to the impound lot.
There was a strong odor of chemicals like bleach and cleaning products. CSI took samples of what is clearly blood and fast-tracked them to get identification. The police immediately try to locate Stephen Davis in their system. He has a long rap sheet.
He had a violent past. He was convicted of murdering his aunt's boyfriend at 14 years old. He was convicted, found guilty, and was remanded to juvenile custody until he was 21 years old.
When he was released, Stefan continued to stay on the wrong side of the law.
After several guilty pleas, including a federal case involving conspiracy to trafficking cocaine, Davis was sentenced in 2004 to 50 months in prison.
So at this point, knowing now his history, the police are very well convinced that he is capable of murder. But the police are still puzzled as to the connection between him and Angel.
On Saturday, April 10th, the forensic testing from the blood in the van is complete.
Results of the DNA test from the blood in the van come back positive. They are a match for the blood that was taken from Angel's body.
Police do some follow-up. They find several eyewitnesses who saw Stephen driving the van the morning after the murder.
On April 11th, 6 days after Angel's murder, they place Davis under arrest at his mother's home. The 30-year-old surrenders without incident.
Stephen Davis is charged with aggravated murder.
That same morning, investigators sit down with Stefan, hopeful for answers. But Stefan appears shocked to learn of the charge against him.
My arrest for what in particular? Aggravated murder. Aggravated murder. Oh, you know Angel, brother? I've never seen her, never spoke to her.
Then they tell him that they know that he was driving the van with Angel's blood in it.
Okay, well, how does that link me to the murder? You were the last one with the van, but I wasn't the last one.
Stephen said he dropped his ex off at work. Then he took her van back to her house where he left it. He then went home at 11:30 on Easter and spent the night with his son.
The following day, she called my phone, like, well, what's going on with my vehicle? I said, what is you talking about? She said, one of my kids are in trouble. There was some blood in my vehicle, etc., etc.
Stefan says his ex told him her son was responsible.
She told me, like, one of these boys are just, he's the one to help us.
Stefan says he went back to her house, but the young man wouldn't talk to him.
When I say, come talk to me, what happened, tell me what's up, what's really going on, he wouldn't come downstairs.
His ex then asked him to help them clean the van out. And Stefan says he refused, and then he left.
I'm not about to put myself in those situations. I'm a single dad, once got custody of my son. I'm in college, everything is going great in my life.
He is adamant he didn't do it, and that his ex is just trying to pin this on him.
I don't know how they did it, when they did it, why they did it.
They were telling my mom, like, step by step about what was going on, what process, what evidence they did and did not have, and what was making sense and what's not making sense. Well, in the midst of all this, we just was really thinking that maybe it was just a random attack. We could sit and speculate and try to piece stuff together and play conspiracy theories, but I don't know. We were very shocked because nobody knew him, so now what happened? So we have a lot of questions, like what happened? Like, how did y'all come in contact with each other? How did y'all know each other? Because we didn't know him, never heard of him, never met him.
After being arrested for the murder of Angel Bradley Crockett, Stefan Davis tells police he believes his ex-girlfriend's son is responsible.
The police aren't buying this, though. They have witnesses who said they saw him driving the van the day after the murder.
Stefan remains in custody. 2 days after his arrest, he sends word to detectives that he has more to say.
I need to speak to you about my participation in this situation. Right.
They think that he's about to confess, but instead, he said that he was helping his ex's son clean out the van.
They said somebody was stabbed. One of their friends was stabbed in the car, and they helped me clean up because my mother's gonna be pissed. I'm like, cool, not a problem. Not a problem.
And the only thing that you did was help clean the van.
That's it.
I guess we should just let you go then.
They know that he's lying, but he will absolutely not budge.
Tell us something different, because right now we don't believe a word you're saying on most of this stuff.
What am I supposed to say? The truth. I told you the truth.
No, you didn't tell us the truth.
Investigators really need more, but they're not getting it from Stefan. But they do end up getting it from someone else.
Shortly thereafter, the police receive a call from an individual who states that they are Letitia Santos' cousin, and that she knows that Letitia Santos has been dating Stefan Davis. She believes that Letitia Santos has information about this murder.
Her cousin said that Angel's SUV was found near her house, and Letitia leaves with her sometimes.
The cousin reached out to Letitia after finding out that Angel's van was recovered 2 doors down, basically. She reached out to her cousin Letitia and said, you have to let me know what's going on so I can help you.
Letitia responded hysterically, I don't know what he did, and I don't know why he would do this. Letitia said she was afraid of Stefan and frightened for her life.
The cousin also told the police that she hasn't seen Letitia since Easter Day. She asked where Letitia was, but she won't give up her location.
Unable to contact Letitia Santos, authorities issue a warrant for her arrest on a charge of obstructing justice.
Even though Letitia's location was not known because of the pressure from her family and from pressure from the police, on April 20th, she decided to call the police and to turn herself in.
She places Stefan Davis in the van on the night of Easter Sunday. She said she had gotten into a fight with Stefan in the van. He busted her lip and left.
Shortly after Letitia leaves, he sends a text saying, I'm about to F a Letitia Santos texts back, "Go ahead."
She's saying she doesn't know what happened to Angel. Police don't believe this and to keep her in jail.
The next day, Letitia admits she was holding back.
She said Stefan told her that he got into a car accident with Angel. He said that Angel didn't have a driver's license or insurance. So Stefan convinced her to follow him to Charter Avenue, where he robbed and killed her and dumped her body. Letitia said she wasn't with him. She only knows this because he told her and asked for her help afterwards.
She said that he had threatened to kill her if she didn't help him clean out the van.
One thing she stays constant on, she was never inside Angel's SUV. So police asked her to prove it by giving a DNA sample, and she complies.
Letitia remains in custody as they wait for the results. When they come in, they prove that Letitia is still not telling the truth.
The DNA shows that at some point, Letitia Santos was in Angel's car, which means she still hasn't told police the full story because none of her accounts place her in Angel's car.
On April 22nd, authorities turn up the heat. They revised the criminal charge against Letitia.
The charges were upgraded to 1 count of aggravated murder. Both faced the death penalty if they were convicted of their charges, and at this time, both maintained their innocence.
Neither one of them are budging, but prosecutors want the truth, and they want justice for the family. They need one of them to talk before this heads to trial.
The prosecutors offer Santos a charge of involuntary manslaughter instead of the aggravated murder for her cooperation and willingness to testify against Davis.
On January 26, 2011, Letitia Santos talks to investigators again. This time, she promises the truth.
According to Letitia Santos, on April 4th of 2010, Davis borrows a van from his ex-girlfriend, picks up Letitia Santos. They go to a liquor store to buy alcohol and are drinking in the van.
They were riding around in the van drinking. When about 1 o'clock in the morning, an SUV pulled out in front of them and Stefan ran into the back of the SUV. That SUV turned out to be Angel Crockett's SUV.
Angel becomes extremely upset about the accident because it was a brand new vehicle. When Angel asks Davis who's going to pay for the damages, Davis suggests that they go talk about it and get out of the busy street.
Angel didn't have a driver's license or insurance, so Stefan persuaded her to come with him so that they could try and settle this in a private matter.
According to Santos, on the way to this area, Davis and Santos conspired to rob Angel.
Stefan had noticed she was wearing a lot of jewelry, her nice truck, so he thought that she would have money. Stefan told Letitia, we're gonna rob her, and according to Letitia's account, she said, why not?
In early 2011, Letitia Santos tells investigators that she and her boyfriend, Stefan Davis, planned to rob Angel Bradley Crockett in the early morning hours of April 5th. When they arrived in Stefan's neighborhood, he and Angel's conversation about the traffic accident takes a dark turn.
So Stefan asked Angel to give him her money. She said she didn't have any. So he began to punch her in the face. Letitia Santos also admits that she punched Angel in the back of the head with a closed fist. Stefan Davis took the car keys from Angel and gave them to Letitia to tell her to go look in Angel's SUV to see if she had money in the SUV.
When Letitia returned to the van, the situation had escalated.
According to Santos, Davis beat Angel mercilessly and assaulted her in the van.
She was horrified and asked him to stop. After that, he told her to get in the driver's seat and drive. She said she was horrified, so she just did exactly what he told her to do.
Santos is driving the van and Davis is in the back. Santos looks in the rearview mirror and sees Davis strangling Angel with something that looked like a shoestring. She then doesn't hear Angel anymore.
Later that morning, Letitia says she helped Stefan dispose of the body on the side of the road.
Santos and Davis decide to go dump Angel on I-90. Angel was stripped of her clothing, 2 wedding rings, a watch, and a necklace. Then they drove back to get Angel's SUV.
Letitia says that Stefan had her drive Angel's SUV away from where the original crime scene was where the murder happened. She drove Angel's vehicle to her street, 2 doors down from her house, and according to the report, strolled back to her house. The vehicle was subsequently recovered in that location, 2 doors down from Letitia's house.
Stefan didn't know Angel, but when she got upset over the accident, he decided that he would show her who's in control. He took his rage out on her that night.
On February 17, 2011, Letitia Santos pled guilty to involuntary manslaughter in exchange for her testimony against Davis. The decision to testify against Davis can be considered payback for all of the abuse that she had endured and maybe endured the night of Angel's murder.
With the truth finally exposed, Stefan feels the pressure.
A day before we get ready to go to court, I got called back down there, and they said Stefan Davis wanted to cop out to 40 to life. He didn't want to go to trial.
Instead of facing a capital murder trial, Davis decides to enter a plea of guilty to aggravated murder and aggravated robbery.
Angel's family faces the horrific details about what happened to her.
That's a painful way to go. To get beaten and strangled, So everybody was just devastated. You wouldn't wish that on nobody. And then just left in the cold. I try to think about her last moments, what was going through her head. That stuff haunts me.
On January 13th, 2012, Stefan Davis is sentenced to 40 years to life in prison.
I remember sitting there, I remember the judge asking people if they wanted to come up and say anything to Stefan Davis or anything, and people went up, people spoke about their experience with her and, let him know what he did to them. And I remember that he didn't show no remorse or anything. He just sat there and, it is what it is, real arrogantly, just, yep.
It was clear that this man needed to prove his power by showing women that he was in control through violence. That night, Angel was in the wrong place at the wrong time, and she paid the price for his anger.
40 years to life, that's not enough time because half of it's almost done. I don't think he should be released at all.
Less than 2 weeks later, Letitia Santos appears in court.
On January 24, 2012, Letitia Santos received a sentence of 10 years for aggravated robbery, abuse of a corpse, and involuntary manslaughter.
Letitia Santos was released in 21. I think she should be still in prison. I really do.
People do more time selling drugs. She murdered somebody. Y'all kidnapped my sister, y'all beat her and strangled her, and y'all threw her body on a freeway. And you got 10 years for that? Make it make sense. I do not feel like justice was served.
I think the day that Angel died, a part of everybody that knew her, not just family, a part of them was missing. She was just a big ball of sunshine. She entered the room was lighting up immediately. I know life would be different for all of us, for sure, if she was here, definitely.
I just want to let everybody know that Sugar Bone is gone, but she's not forgotten. And she's going to live on through her kids and through me, and her sisters and their brothers. We're going to continue to stay strong.